Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to unlock growth, streamline operations, and prepare your business for a high value exit. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today I'm joined by Chris Panteli. He's a founding partner at Linkify, now one of the world's largest and most successful PR agencies. He's also most recently launched Total Authority, a platform helping companies get discovered inside AI-powered search engines. Chris, thanks for coming on the show today. I'm excited for this.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you start off and share a bit about your background, your professional life and business journey, and what led you to Linkify?
Yeah, so we started Linkify about 5 or 6 years ago now. I was running a fish and chip shop at the time. So straight after university, I got a degree in economics and then did what all sort of half Greek Cypriot English people do, took over the family business of fish and chips. I was doing that for like a decade and then started to see the industry change. Got like itchy fingers, wanted to do something different, was looking online and saw these businesses making money online. So I thought I could do that. Started a personal finance website that started making like $1,000 a month, like quite quickly. And I realized that like an important part of that was getting backlinks. And then I came across a strategy of how to get the best backlinks in the world, which was like earned media links, and that I could pitch journalists and get featured in publications. I did that and managed to get myself quoted and my site linked on places like the New York Times and Forbes. And that's when I came across my now business partner who had seen my link profile and said, "Right, these are amazing. Like, how did you get these? Do you think you could do that for some of my clients?" I said, "I don't see why not." And then Linkify was organically born from there.
Does it? Do you find it's helpful to have that background in in a different industry like food? Has that translated into your later business life with Linkify?
Yeah, I think so. It's very different in terms of marketing. Like marketing from like a fixed location position is really hard. Like you have to get scrappy, which I suppose is a skill set which translated. Also, you have to be extremely economical and conscious of costs and margins. So you get much better margins in the online world, or you can do if you focus on that, and you have the whole world as your potential customer as opposed to just that like small radius around where your restaurant is. So yeah, I think there's things that definitely helped. And I think the most important thing is for me was just motivationally to go from at the time that I sold the business and got out, I'd been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as well, which is one of the reasons I was looking for something else to do. I didn't think I could spend the next decade on my feet for like 14 hours a day whilst having to like manage my sugars. I thought it's going to be easier to be sat down at a laptop. So yeah, I'm grateful that like everything coincided and gave me the ability to do that. So I've always got this like sense of gratitude whilst running Linkify.
Online. What was so can you explain a little bit more about backlinks? And is that the inspiration for the name Linkify?
Yeah. So I mean, backlinks are one of the, or if not potentially the most important part of the Google algorithm in order for your site to appear higher up in the search results. So pre-AI, Google was the undisputed king of discovery online, and people could find your business by searching for keywords in Google. And then if you appeared in spot 1 or spot 2 or spot 3 on that lucrative page 1, then you would get free traffic to your website. People would buy your products and services and you'd make lots of money. So people want to be on page 1. The joke is that if you want to murder someone and bury and hide a dead body, you hide it on page 2 of Google because nobody goes to page 2. It's like you want to be on page 1. So the Google algorithm historically has been sort of 2 parts. One is content, good content and enough content and relevant content. And then the other part of that algorithm is backlinks. And backlinks are Google's patented way to determine how they can trust websites. So it's sort of like an algorithmic voting system. If a more authoritative or trusted site like the BBC or Forbes or the New York Times, if a site like that is giving you a backlink, so a hyperlink back to your site, it means that they trust your website. They're sending that trust, or Google's patented term is PageRank, And the more of that page rank that is sent to your website, the more trusted your website is in Google's eyes, and the higher up that they will rank you. That's the short and tall of it.
Got it. What are some things that you consult with businesses on? How do you businesses get listed on some of those big name websites?
Well, there's a whole host of backlink strategies. You can outright buy them, which is against Google's terms of service, and there's whole industries which just exist to sell backlinks. So they'll create sites and then sell links from those sites. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Google will identify this and give a manual action. You can earn links just completely naturally. If, I don't know, Ed Sheeran released a new album, then people, or tour dates, then websites are going to link to that because it's newsworthy, and they're going to say you can find out where his tour dates are here at his website, and they'll get a link. You can outreach other websites and ask them to feature. So there's a whole host of different strategies. The strategy that we do is the safest, which is digital PR, so earned media. So rather than buying a link or going about in a nefarious way, you are trying to get the media, the news journalists to quote you in their article, and then hopefully by way of attribution they will link back to your website as well.
So say you take on a new client, what are some of the first things you do on board, and then what are you auditing and looking for to drive
So they'll come to us. Normally it will be because they want to incorporate this sort of link building into their existing strategy. They will be producing content. They may have other types of link building activities that they're engaged with. But what they really want is to build brand for their business, build that visible brand by having their business associated with much larger and trusted publishers and organizations. So the strategy is always to get them in the highest, most well-respected publications of all time. And the way that we do that is position the founder, find somebody that has relevant niche credential expertise that represents the business. So this can be easy in certain industries. For example, if a law firm comes to us, then the founder, who is a lawyer, is the obvious choice to be the spokesperson for that business. And that makes sense because they can expertly talk to the media about all things related to law. Can be a bit trickier if it's a more niche specific business, but then there's still ways to position an expert that makes sense to be forward facing to the media in order to try and earn that tier 1 coverage. Hands down, the biggest mistake I see is that businesses don't think that they can do this, and therefore they just ignore it. There are so many opportunities, especially when you have forward-facing founders, and this is another mistake they make, is they don't put their founders forward. They don't start building brand to people within the business as well as to the business. And I think this is the biggest shift that we're going to see now with AI search as well. And you can see this now. We've been running some tests recently where if you go inside of some of the LLMs like ChatGPT and you ask a question about things like, let's say, facial peels or like a health sort of treatment, if you're going to engage in that conversation with ChatGPT, I'm looking to do a facial peel in this particular area, ChatGPT isn't just recommending clinics that it thinks it can trust. It's recommended specific doctors that are known to be good at that particular treatment and therefore the clinic that doctor works at. So if you're a med spa or a health clinic and you want to do well and be surfaced inside of LLMs, you can't just have sort of no-face entities working within the business. They need to build personal brands as well inside of the business to be recommended. And it's like, oh my God, how much more work is there to do? There's already a lot of work to do, but it's going to be what sets you apart for years to come. And the people that start doing this now are the ones that are going to succeed. And it's there to do as well, especially in PR friendly niches. If you're in a home service, professional services, there is always journalists looking to include those expertise within their article. So if you can send authority and trust to people within your business and have them as public known figures within your business, then your business will do better for it.
Got it.
If you're a law firm, the lawyer's in the business. If you're a med spa, the doctor's in the business. If you're a startup and you've got, founders in there, let's say you're an energy tech startup, then you want to have the founder who's an energy expert being forward facing and engaging with the media. So a recent example, we've got a really large company in the UK, a retail electronics company called Currys. And the founder recently left. The CEO recently left the company and the share price tanked. And the reason was because he was intrinsically tied to the authority of that business. So this is actually a risk that you can do. A risk is where you put all of your eggs in one basket. So because he was like the face and life and soul of this huge, multi-million-dollar company, when he left, it was like, well, who else is going to be the forward-facing person for this business? So you need to have personal brands inside a business and not have it all concentrated in one or two people. Have it spread out across all of the key people inside of your business.
Gotcha. I would love to shift and talk a little bit about AI search and how's that affecting people's visibility online, and how has the strategy shifted even within the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean it's so fast moving, and anyone that I think that says they've got the answer is probably being disingenuous, because it's like it's changing every 30 seconds. But yeah, it's completely shifting. I think we're seeing things like 0 clicks go up and up and up. So you used to be able to go onto Google, you would search for something, maybe you would click on multiple different links, you would go in. Actually, I had a really good conversation with someone a month or so ago where they were talking about how our age, our generation, the kids of today will never know this, but we got good at Googling. Like, if you wanted to find something, it was like, okay, I need to find this information. I need to figure out how I'm going to structure this in Google. And we got good at Googling. We got good at I need to find this website. I need to find this person. I can't remember what they did. I know a couple of things, you put these words in, you'd become a good Googler. Now you can just go inside of an LLM and ask the most convoluted question. And the chances are you'll get the correct answer back. So people are discovering information in a completely different way. They are not using very, very short, high intent keywords necessarily. Best law firm in Dallas, Texas. They might be inside of ChatGPT. They might be inside of Claude. They might be inside of Perplexity. They might say, I recently had a car accident. I wasn't, very affected. It wasn't really an injury. It just sort of bumped me, but I'm not sure, is there something I should be doing here, to get some compensation? They might not even know. And that is so top of funnel compared to law firm Dallas, Texas. But this journey that they start on inside of the LLM may lead them to based on everything that you've said, I highly recommend that you visit a personal injury law firm. ChatGPT will know that they're in Dallas, Texas, likely because of that saved memory, and then it's going to recommend 1, 2, 3, 4 firms. So how do you become that recommended firm? We have to understand that the difference in how those people are going to potentially get to you.
Answer. What are some strategies you recommend businesses do to try to optimize for that type of search?
That's a great question. So I think a really important thing, first of all, is to understand your ICP. Really know your customer, and then start to synthetically create those potential query fan out queries that people will make. So if you are a company that sells running shoes, let's say, and you sell lots of different type of running shoes, like men's running shoes, women's running shoes, children's running shoes for people with flat feet, running shoes for people with wide feet. You're going to have your sort of classic Google keywords that you want people to hit those core landing pages. But outside of that, LLMs, they're making what we do call a query fan out. So they will query around that firstly in a way that it thinks is best to do, and then also potentially on a personalized level. So if your personalized ChatGPT knows that you are, let's say, overweight, then the ChatGPT may, when you search for running shoes or men's running shoes, it knows you're overweight, so maybe it's going to add that to part of that, the way that it query fan outs that search. And it's going to search for men's running shoes for people that are overweight, and men's running shoes top rated, let's say. So it's going to make 2 or 3 searches that are fanned out from the original search. So to have this sort of understanding of that, I think is important, because that's the sort of content that you need to produce and have on your website. And then the other strategy then is go and look at what ChatGPT is determining to be a valid source for its decision making. And it will show you this in its sources. So it shows you where it's gone. So if you're a law firm operating in Texas and you think potentially people could be searching for divorce lawyer, Texas, if you search in ChatGPT right now, best divorce lawyer, Texas, you will then see a list of sources, and it will tell you the websites that it has gone to in order to extrapolate that information and then give it back to the user. So if it has gone to 3 law directories, let's say, I don't know, Texas Lawyers, lawdirectory.com, maybe it's gone to Forbes, best lawyers in Texas, and maybe it's gone to a Reddit thread, subreddit-Texas Lawyers. Yeah. There's 4 places there that you need to try and also be in, because that's where the information is coming from.
Wow. How has strategy shifted?
Again, this is hard. I mean, it's tricky to say. Google just released in the last couple of days its documentation around what it suggests is you should be doing for AI visibility within Google's, AI ecosystem. It's saying that AI SEO is just SEO, but Google lies about everything, so it's tricky to know exactly what to do. But in terms of what it's saying in its documentation, it doesn't want to see you get like inauthentic mentions across the web, which is the same as it's saying, don't go and get dodgy paid backlinks. It's saying that certain things are hyped, like these LLMS.txt documents are potentially not necessary. And then it's also talking about still producing meaningful content for the users and looking at these broader potential search queries. So, but again, you need to see like what's working, where your traffic's coming from. So I think tracking is important, but tracking is difficult. A good strategy is to be doing good content, being in the places that you think your customers are, answering lots and lots of questions around the things that you do, making sure that your information on your website is readable. It doesn't need to be chunked. This was one thing that came out, like everyone's saying, you need to chunk your content. You don't necessarily need to chunk it, but it needs to be readable. And so we have a good SEO strategy and do brand building alongside that. I think is the SEO 2.0 for 2026 and beyond.
Is there a...
Yeah, that's a good question. That's tricky. We know that the LLMs, depending on which model, like to pull from like social media of choice. We know that like Gemini obviously pulls a lot from YouTube transcript or YouTube videos because that's within Google's ecosystem. I think that social media content is really important because it's going into like the next rounds of training data for the LLMs, and you're also able to reach your audience, in a more personable way. But again, it's going to vary niche to niche. I think the important thing is to not just think you need to be on every single social media platform in the world, and think about what social media platforms are important to you, your business, and where your customers live. We had a client call the other day with someone who they were like crushing it with their social media. They had like a food website and they were crushing it on Instagram, which is a platform which lends itself to like food and food pictures and stuff. And they were like, I'm not doing very well on this other platform, Twitter I think it was. And it was like, well, are your audience there? Like where are you connecting with your audience? Because if they're not there, then it's probably not worth the ROI of investing the time there.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of businesses try to focus on LinkedIn. Do you see, I guess does it just depend on the type of business that that it is and their ICP? That sounds like it comes down to narrowing that down and figuring out which channel to really focus on.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to have well built out social channels across all the platforms in terms of information. So LLMs, they derive trust from consensus of information. So, if I've got on my LinkedIn profile that I'm Chris Panteli, co-founder of Linkify and Total Authority, and then on my Facebook I put that I'm like champions darts player, and all I talk about is darts. I don't mention my business. And then on my Instagram account I'm like, Chris Panteli, scuba diver, I coach scuba diving. LLM's going to be like, who is this guy? Like, what does he do? He does like loads of different things. Like, you need to clearly be talking about yourself and your business in the same way across all platforms. That's how LLMs are able to trust, because they derive trust from consensusship of information. And you can see this back from like with Google when you're looking at local SEO and NAP, name, address, phone number. If you have like a divergence in that information across directories, your own website, Google business profile, other websites, if the information is like a little bit different, like the address doesn't match or is different on one site to another, then it's an instant like algorithmic distrust to that information, which is why citation cleanup services exist, because people want their citations and everything to be, accurate. So I think it's important to be on social media platforms. I think that's important as well when you are doing the sort of work that we want to do with clients, which is putting them in front of the media. So in the era of AI, when you can produce like hyper realistic fake images, I did a video of myself the other day in Gemini's new model where I asked it to rip the skin off my face and reveal a robot, and it awesome. I couldn't believe it. So in that era, we want to be able to have like journalists and even potentially customers be able to go, who is this person that's representing this company? Can I trust them? And that's going to be having like multiple profile pictures out there and having well built out profiles. You don't want to land on a LinkedIn page on someone that you might want to engage with as a journalist or maybe do business with as a client, and they've got no banner, no profile picture, one connection, and they've never posted. Like instant distrust. So you do need to put the time and effort in across those other platforms as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. That lens that you have is really unique around, AI search engines and being consistent across the platforms. That's something to take away too. Yeah. So what type of, I would love to know more about the link between, so you're building your content strategy, you're posting every day, videos, clips, combination of text and video. At what point do you bridge that gap between just generating content and then getting listed on, getting in front of media, like the ultimate goal?
Yeah, so for us, like two separate things. Engaging the media, we recommend you do through inbound journalist requests is the place to start. So the biggest platform for that was Harrow, Help a Reporter Out, free to sign up. Journalists will post, or you will receive an email 3 times a day from journalists that are proactively looking for sources to quote in their stories. And that will be across different verticals, and it's normally very well vetted and curated for tier 1 publications. So it might be a journalist writing an article for Healthline saying, I'm looking for a health expert or an MD or a doctor to give me some comments on this story I'm working on about the heat wave in the UK and what people that have allergies can do to prevent X, Y, and Z. So if you are running like a health business or you have health credentials, that's perfect. You should answer that, and hopefully if they include your commentary, you get the link. And there are they are posting these sorts of inbound requests all day, every day, across all verticals. Well, not all verticals, but across many verticals. So you can really, really hone in on what opportunities are right for you and dial into those and try and answer them. And when you do that, you then be able to start formulating relationships with journalists. And that's how you then take it to the next level. Recently, we got a client we've been working with him for years. We're doing a more traditional PR approach over the past 6 months. And by helping him engage with journalists, he's a real estate brokerage owner. He does nearly $1 billion in volume in Austin, Texas. We had a New York Times op-ed piece where they went to his house, did an article, took photos of him. We got him a TV CNBC news slot, like a talking head spot, a couple of weeks ago. And this stuff just, the whole point is to position and build him as the go-to authority within his local area. And you can do this, it just takes time and engagement. And yeah, I think that's what will differentiate the businesses that survive into the future, because it's hard to do, but if you do it, that's how you build that moat of trust. Oh, AI is I love it, but I just feel like I'm getting left behind every day, so it's stressing me out. We're using it as much as we can. I mean, I can look at my desktop now on the bottom. I've got Codex, I've got Claude, I've got anti-gravity, I've got everything. I'm using Hermes agents to do stuff. We're doing as much. Internally, we are automating as many processes as possible. We are testing AI in terms of actually delivering the work for our clients. It's a bit tricky in terms of the work that we do. We don't want to be writing AI stuff to journalists because it doesn't work, but we can certainly research and analyze and test and all of that, which is working really, really well. And then from a business growth perspective, we're able to repurpose content really, really well. Analyze internal data as well in order to improve our internal operations. And as you know, recently I did a study where we were able to analyze, I think we took like 1,000 pitches that we'd done to journalists. I was able to easily identify from Airtable the ones that we'd sent and won compared to the ones that we hadn't won. So there was like a percentage of winners against the losers. And then I was able to produce, I had so much internal data, like time that we received the request from the journalist, time that we sent the pitch back, word count, sort of niche that the journalist was operating. So all this information, I was able to just like use like a deep research analysis of it, and was able to get like awesome information back. Like 70% of quotes that you won were for pitches that were sent back within an hour, let's say, as opposed to, you know, past the hour. Or ideal word length was between 300 and 700. Like 80% of the pitches that you won were between that word length. And this just took minutes. You know, I mean, we had the data, but to analyze it took minutes.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, what an interesting use case. And you mentioned a few other use cases as well. Man, and there's so many tools out there. How do you and you're clearly, a cut ahead of a lot of people in terms of AI implementation. I'm curious how you choose the right tool, and, how do you separate the wheat from the chaff, and
I don't
choose
know.
the one that
I
works
wish I had the answer to that, honestly. I try and stay off YouTube because when I want to get into bed and watch something interesting. I just started The Pit. I don't know if you've seen that. It's fantastic. But I just started watching The Pit, so it's like, oh, gotta watch the next episode. And if I put YouTube on and I see someone say, the insane latest new AI agent model, like, I think, oh god, there can't be another one that I've got to like look at and learn. So I would stay away from YouTube. I think the safest thing at the minute is to stick with the big players. So Codex, I love. I use OpenAI, ChatGPT for all of my like strategy, conversational stuff, and then I love Codex for building tools and things like that. And it has really generous usage. Claude, I like a lot. Everybody raves about Claude. I haven't fallen in love with it like I know a lot of people have. I think I prefer Codex, but I don't know. If you've got the answer to that, tell me. I don't know. How do you avoid shiny object syndrome? It's impossible. Yeah, that's true. And I do think it's good to use more than just one, because you will find that certain things are better at some, like certain tasks than others. Like I'll use Perplexity for sort of just like quick, fast internet searches. But if I'm going to do any sort of, like planning, it'll be ChatGPT. I like Claude for like intense coding work as well. So I think, and then I like Gemini as well.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do stuff where I know I want it in Google products, if like there's some stuff that you want to live in a Google Doc, so you may as well start here because it's going to put it really nice here. So there's different things. I mean, who knows what it's going to look like in a year's time? There's probably going to be like one or two key players, I imagine, and all of these like OpenClaw and Hermes agents and all of these like side things that have blown up the big boys will bring into their ecosystem, I imagine, and then we'll be left with just like 2 or 3 big players. I think. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I probably use Perplexity just as a search replacement for Google, just because it's fast. And if I'm going to do an actual task, I wouldn't use Perplexity for anything, like anything task based. So I do all like website builds and developments inside of Codex, which does limit me then to the Codex models. I mean, having said that, I have everything live inside of GitHub. So everything is cloud-based, and every project is a repo which lives in GitHub, and then I can access that repo and work on it from any of the models that I want via their like desktop apps. So I will work on either with Claude or Codex on any of our GitHub repos, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, and for the agents specifically too, you'd want to go directly to the whatever model it is.
Yeah, agents is I don't think I'm at a place yet where I want to be with like agentically running stuff. I mean, it does it for you inside of things like the Codex app. It will run like multiple agents simultaneously, but having like Hermes style agents running like 5 or 6 or 10 agents at the same time to produce the same task, I haven't found an actual use case for that for us yet, and I don't want to lose like an entire week to figuring it out just yet. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but then I suppose once it's done, you don't have to pay them. Make sure you are beautifully presented on your website's about page. Make sure the about page is easily visible and accessible. Don't bury it in like 8 clicks of navigation, and scream from the rooftops within that about page section about your skills, credentials, awards, accolades. Link all of your social icon favicons, multiple social profile images, previous media mentions and features. Like, absolutely, we are in the era of personal brand, and I still get like client calls booked from real businesses that are making real money, and like, I'll look at the website before the call and go, I can't even see who works here. There's no like about page, there's no team page. Like, can't do that in this. Make sure that you've got that, and once you've got that, then you can start looking at things like engaging the media to get coverage in publications. But get that right first. Yeah, and don't have it under like, I see some, and you'll go down and it'll be like, okay, I just want to see like the team or like who's the owner and where's the about, and then it'll be like our story. So you click there, and then there's like 8 more buttons, and then you just want to know, who's the CEO of this business, who's the owner, who are the people behind it. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't do that in this day and age.
Yeah, that would make.
Thank you so much for having me, Pete. Oh, actually, if anybody wants to get, I've got a free cheat sheet they can get at linkify.io/cheat-sheet, and that will give you everything you need to know to go and get your first 5 pieces of like tier 1 coverage. It's all in. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Pete.
Absolutely, Chris. Great having you on.